You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And it's a tough one tonight for the Houston Rockets as they fall to the Golden State Warriors as their comeback bid comes up short. Just not enough juice on a night where Ime Udoka, I thought, sent a clear message to his team before the game, during the game, and I'm sure he's going to send another one after the game as well, as this team limps into the All-Star break despite winning a couple of basketball games before this one. Losers of 7 of their last 9 heading into the All-Star break overall. Hello and welcome tonight to the Locked On Rockets Postcast. I'm your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for stopping by and joining us if you're live on the channel. If you are listening to this later on or on the Locked On Rockets audio feed, thank you for listening to this show. We can always be found. The Locked On Sports Houston page is where you find this show. We do Rockets, we do Texans, we do Astros, we do Cougs. And coming up, well, just in about a month, we will have baseball back on this channel as well. It was a bad day for the city of Houston overall because he lost an iconic star in the city. Ended on a poor note as well because the Rockets go ahead and lose the basketball game tonight. So let's get into a lot of things. Let's take a look at the first, they call it the first half of the season. It's not the first half of the season because the Rockets have already played more than half their schedule, but you know what I mean. Heading into the All-Star break, where this team sits now in the Western Conference, what we think of them moving forward, and overall just kind of how disappointing it is how they've played tonight. But tonight's story of this basketball game, as we're going to get into all these details I mentioned throughout the show, comes back to, overall, their effort level recently has been, I would say, I'm trying to find the G-rated way to say it because we are a family-friendly show here, the Locked On Rockets Postcast. Well, it starts with a P and it's poor. I think that's the way you could put it. They have been horrendous of late at playing with the right effort, at doing anything offensively. Now, look, they are limited, and they are young. I will always give them a little bit of space for that. But here's what we're talking about tonight. Think about this. The Rockets lose to a Golden State team that's been very average this season. Very, very average. The Rockets have lost to them multiple times now this season. That is the Rockets. How many times have they played them? I guess they played them, in the Golden State now leads them in the season series 3-1. They played in the NBA Cup. So they're going to end up playing them 5 times this year. Rockets pulled out that one win in the NBA Cup by a point to advance to Vegas. Rockets also blew one that had a wild comeback at Toyota Center as well. But this is a very average Golden State team. You watched it. They put up 105 points tonight. They weren't great. They shot 39% from the field. They shot 26% from 3. Now, Steph Curry had 27 tonight, but it's not like he was otherworldly. Nobody was otherworldly on that basketball team tonight on the other side of things. And the Rockets starters, I thought, tonight came out, and a lot of them played terribly. Alpy was bad. Dylan Brooks was horrendous. Amin Thompson even wasn't his best. Jalen Green was just awful. And it felt like the level of effort tonight was just downright terrible. We're talking about a game tonight where the Rockets gave over 15 minutes to Jock Landale, Nate Williams, Jeff Green. If that doesn't tell you where you're at and what your coach is thinking of you and how you're playing at this moment, then I don't know what will. And it's not to be disrespectful to any of those guys that I mentioned. It's meant simply because we all know those guys aren't playing for any basketball team consistently, especially one that is in the top portion of the Western Conference. And the Rockets now, 34-21 on the season. They have a half-game lead over the Lakers at the moment for the 4 seed. And the Lakers do not play tonight, so that's good. There's no games again until the Rockets aren't back in action, by the way, until the 21st. And I'm going to be honest with you. Thank goodness. Because it's incredible. You could go back into our archives here on the Locked On Sports Houston page and find old shows. And if you kind of scroll through the shows, you'd probably find multiple instances, because I know I brought it up, that I've been having the most fun that I've ever had in a long time, probably since like the first year of James Harden, watching this basketball team this season. And then it's like it just hit a wall. And right now, I'm not having fun watching them. They're a bad watch at the moment. Nothing about them is good. Nothing. I mentioned the one thing that you can always control: effort, attention to detail. You can control those things. It's about doing it. They're sloppy. They turned the ball over a ton. What did their turnover total end up being? Their turnover total tonight ended up being 20 turnovers that allowed 25 points for Golden State. Again, Golden State did nothing tonight to go win this basketball game. They were bad. $20 turnovers. The biggest culprit in that department, Thompson, had 5. Jalen Green had 4. So 9 of the 20 to 2 of your most important ball handlers out there right now, because you still don't have Fred VanVleet, which, man, hopefully after the All-Star break, right? They do miss him. They miss him badly. Natari Eason tonight as well. That matters. But those 2 guys alone don't fix what's been going on here. We've always known that this team's not going to shoot the ball incredibly well. They don't. That's okay. Again, we've talked about that on multiple occasions. They can win at a high level in this league by not shooting the ball well every single night, if they play the defense that they typically play. But it's just like a different team has been out there of late. It's like an out-of-body experience compared to what we watched for the first, it's 85, 90% of this season. Doesn't look anything like that right now. Here's the question. Are you worried? Are you starting to walk back on any confidence that you felt for this basketball team maybe doing something in the Western Conference? I have been extremely confident in them staying. I think I went back and listened to it. I probably found myself saying that they're definitely going to end up being the 2 seed. I don't feel like that's even has a remote chance at this point. Let's talk about that. Where we're at. Does this worn you out a little bit? We'll do that next here on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, cleaning out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the new year, WayFair has everything that you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and my budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site is so easy to navigate, and I find everything that I need in no time. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or your budget. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. And yes, every single decor style. Trust me, get in on the action. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com. Every style, every home. Locked On Rockets Postcast tonight after what looked like for a while was going to be an absolutely brutal loss for the Rockets tonight. They did make one heck of a comeback, and we do need to give the tip of the cap to the players that made that happen. I, by the way, am your host of this Locked On Rockets Postcast. I said easily. I should be pretty good at this by now. We've been doing it for a while. I am Michael Connor. You can find me on the social media world at Connor Michael. You see that there. That is for Twitter, I should say, or X. It's the only one that I've ever done anything on. The Rockets lose tonight, though. 34-21 on the season. They go into the All-Star break losers of 7 out of their last 9 games. They had that 2-game run there. It was a good win the other night against Phoenix. I know that we did not get the show for that one. I just late night could not commit to you guys of doing the show because, well, I missed most of it. And if you can't do a show when you miss most of it, but that's okay. We're here tonight after a loss. I'm really, really not happy about doing it after a loss, but that is what it is. By the way, if you're looking for the show, again, anywhere that you get your podcast, go and search for Locked On Rockets. You will find this show in the Locked On Rockets Daily Show. It is hosted by Jackson Gatlin. He does a wonderful job covering your Rockets every single day. Go check out his work on his Locked On Rockets page as well. Subscribe there, subscribe here. Listen to the audio version of both shows, and you are locked in, as we like to say, with your Rockets content on a very daily basis. What is hopefully going to be good stuff moving forward. So I asked the question ahead of our little break there. Do you feel like the recent run of bad basketball has pushed you backwards a little bit in terms of your confidence in this basketball team? And I have to admit, it has. And do I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite doing that when a few weeks ago I'm sitting here, oh my good, I'm going nuts for this team. I mean, they had those wins against the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple of nights in a row. They beat the Boston Celtics on the road in a really good game. They were feeling it, and I was feeling it. And then it's just like, no. And I do think that is the natural response. Look, we are fans, right? We watch with emotion. We talk about things with emotion. Now, I always try to be the person that keeps the level-headed focus on things. This year, I've let myself with this basketball team probably go more towards the fan side. I'm not on the radio. I was on the radio for years. I'm not on the radio anymore. I feel like I always had the fan in me on the radio, but like now I feel like it's, I can be more of the fan that I was. I grew up a Rockets fan. I grew up an Astros fan, Texans fan. Those are my teams. Live and die by them. But when you're in a professional, not that this isn't professional, this is a professional setting. But in a professional media setting where I was, at the stadiums every day and whatever, your fandom, you can't wear that out there. Here's a place that I can. With the Astros, I'm never going to be that way necessarily because I'm just going to call it as it is, especially with what they've given me as of late, which is a lot that just I'm not very pleased with the way that they're run. I think they're run very poorly after years of being run very well. This team has been run very well. And so I'm letting myself buy into things this season. Same goes for the Texans. I didn't buy into them for a long time because they were run so poorly. And now I'm starting to buy back in because they kind of got out of the way and they kind of let their football people be football people instead of the Jack Easterby of the world do their thing. But I will admit to you tonight, and I think it's okay to admit, I think that's the emotional side of things when these kind of things happen. You play this poorly. The Rockets have gone from a team that defensively looks just lights out every single night to a team that can get pushed around. And, even on the glass tonight at times. Look, it's nothing against these guys, but I mean, if you don't think there's a message sent tonight to Alperen Şengün, to Steven Adams that, hey, you guys, that sucked. We're going to take you out and not play. Jock Landale played 16 minutes tonight on a night where both Alpy and Steven Adams were healthy and playing. I mean, look, Alpy went out there and gave you 10, 13, and 4. Had 3 turnovers, but 4 of 10 for them. It just wasn't effective. Rebounds are nice. It's great. I'm not putting those down by any means, but Jock came out there and gave him a spark. 13 points and 8 rebounds. He outplayed both the bigs tonight in his 15 minutes and 48 seconds on the floor. He was part of the key as the Rockets trying like crazy to turn that thing around. Rockets ended up outscoring Golden State in that second half 50-43. And really it was the third quarter there late where they went on was a 13-1 run to end the quarter and really get back into that basketball game. And look, this team was down by almost 30 tonight. 30. Yeah. That's about as bad as it gets. I didn't see that coming. Again, I understand that you're talking about a team that has the greatest three-point shooter in the history of the game, and Steph Curry. I have no respect for them in terms of an opponent this year. They're not good. They're at the end of they're at the end of it. Steph's old. They just had another old player in Jimmy Butler. They got some nice pieces. Buddy Hield was a nice pickup. They got some nice guys off the bench. They could score a little bit occasionally. But they're just an average basketball team. That's it. And you played like that team. Played to their level again. I think that's what's been so disappointing of late, is that you go back and you look at this. Okay, you had a tough loss against Memphis to start the rough stretch. Lost by a point. You got your butt kicked by Brooklyn, which was just downright atrocious in that one. I mean, they got bullied around in that one so badly. And that's something we hadn't seen. You go to the Knicks, give up 46 in the fourth quarter, and blow a win. Next night in Brooklyn, have another win, cough it up with, 15 seconds left in the game. Literally throw an inbound pass to let them right back, and they win the game. Go get your butts kicked in Minnesota. Play poorly early against Dallas. Try to mount a comeback. Play ugly, win ugly against Toronto. That's fine, though. You won. Good comeback against Phoenix. And I know that these are back-to-back situations, of course, as well. We've talked about that recently, about how many back-to-backs the team has. When they get back from the break, they play Friday, Saturday. Then they're off Sunday, Monday. Then they play Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they're off until Saturday. They just play one on that one. Then they're off Sunday, but go Monday, Tuesday. Back again on Thursday. Back again on Saturday. They are stacked out of the break. Stacked. And that month, by the way, is where we will get a little bit interesting on scheduling with this channel. We'll try to do everything, but Astros come back in the month of March towards the end. Doesn't look like they're, of course, there's going to be conflict, but we'll figure that out when we get there. We got some time. And then the Rockets playoffs will get priority because it's the playoffs. I still think that they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think that they're going to suddenly fall out of this thing by any means. Where they end up is going to be the interesting part of the story. Right now, there are 5 definitive teams that feel like they should, just even with the Rockets' poor run of late, should be in the top 5 in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City, Memphis, Denver, the Rockets, and the Lakers. The teams that are lurking behind that, to me, the only ones that are probably able to make any kind of push there are the Clippers and the Timberwolves. I would have said maybe the Mavericks if Anthony Davis, didn't get hurt immediately when he get traded to the Mavs in that game against the Rockets. Sacramento, Golden State, those teams aren't making a run towards this at the top. Now there's Phoenix. But you can't let this thing linger too long to where you fart around and let the Clippers back into this. That's the thing. And I do think that, again, it is okay to admit that right now you are maybe on the nervous side with where this basketball team is going. It's okay. That's kind of how I feel at the moment. They aren't doing anything at this very moment that is inspiring to me and is making me getting all warm and fuzzy feeling. Hopefully that turns around out of the All-Star break. Let's talk about how important it is to come out of that break. Let's also, even though it's, our pre-All-Star break grades for the basketball team, let's talk about those next year on the Locked On Rockets Postcast. All right, we're starting to wrap things up here on a Thursday night Locked On Rockets Postcast after the loss to the Golden State Warriors, 105-98. I'm your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for joining us here tonight. If you're live, if you're watching later on and you're new to our channel, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Come on back. We do this after every game, almost every single game. There's always going to be a game here or there where, unfortunately, schedules conflict and whatnot. But for the most part, I would say we're probably 90% of the games this season. We are here after maybe higher than that. I don't know. We are here right after the game gets finished. So, out of the All-Star break, what needs to change for this basketball team? It's pretty simple, first off. Like I mentioned to start this show, the kind of effort level like they gave again tonight, or let's say that, I know it's a while ago, but that game against Brooklyn here at home. Like they've had some of these games recently where the effort level just looks like dog do. And if you missed it before the game tonight, Ime Udoka was, doing his pregame media availability, and he flat out was asked, is he happy with this team heading into the break? He said no. And he shouldn't be. he has a high level of expectation. And I think that's great. I think when things go poorly, people immediately go to coaching this, coaching that. I'm not saying that we're not able to criticize him. I'm going to be honest with you, though. When I go back and I look at when they play poorly and when they play great, I don't think that they're really playing poorly because of him. I think he's a really good tactician inside of games. I think he's pretty darn good at making adjustments fairly quickly. And I think he's also really good at not worrying about egos. I really do think that Ime Udoka is one of the 3 best coaches in the NBA. From the tactician standpoint, from the adjustment standpoint, and from just overall mentality standpoint. He is a true disciple of the Greg Popovich way, and I appreciate that. I might hate the Spurs like all of you guys do that have watched the Rockets for years, but I can respect the job that he's done there in all his years coaching and the way that he went about it, because I did. And it feels a lot like that's what you have in Ime Udoka, is that kind of coach. And I don't mind that one bit. If I was giving out a grade for Ime Udoka in his first half of the season, I would give him an A. I mean, look, I don't think that there's anything that you could give him other than that. He probably would have gotten an A+ if his team didn't lose 7 of 9 going into the break. And let's just say they, won 5 of those games. He'd probably get his A+. He does get responsibility, even though I'm saying, you can't. He does get responsibility. He is the head coach. But I would give him he and his coaching staff a solid A for what they've done. Out of the break, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he plays this thing. At some point, you're going to get Jabari Smith back. Men Thompson has been a revelation in the starting lineup overall. I know that he was terrible tonight. He can't shoot a lick, which is a problem. How he handles that is going to be interesting. I really do think that when he comes back, Jabari, you kick Dylan Brooks out of the starting lineup. I think that's what Ime Udoka is going to do, but I don't know. Dylan has his moments. I think overall, for what he's supposed to be defensively, a little disappointing in year 2 with the Rockets. Not that it's been bad. I think your guys that deserve A grades for the first half of the season, it's very, very slim. I would give an A grade to Men Thompson just because he is the Rockets' I think, most consistent effort player. Not that they don't play with effort. They play with a lot of effort. I'd give him an A. Alperen Şengün, I would give a B to. I think there's been a little bit less scoring at times, and I think that's where I'm knocking him. I think is that, you know what, that's probably unfair. I'll give him a B+. I will give him a B+. Dylan Brooks, I've talked about him again a minute ago. I'd give him a C. Jalen Green, I would give a C+, because he had a good stretch, but a lot of the other stretches are bad. Tari Eason, I would give a B+ to when he's played. But when he's not played, it knocks him down. You probably have to give him a B. Fred VanVleet, I would give a C- to overall. Even though he's important, I thought he's played very poorly. This is kind of my overall thoughts on some grades for guys as they've gone into it. They've got to find a way to come out of that break and bring it a little bit more. That's what I keep looking at. They just have not brought it a lot of late. I think like everybody else, at times have to remind myself they're still young. They're still growing. It happened very rapidly this season. The expectation level rised really quickly, which is fine. But if they come out of the break looking like this, yikes. We're not talking about a team that's going to miss the playoffs all of a sudden. Don't come at me with that stuff. They're making the playoffs. If anybody, I haven't even looked at the comments tonight. If there's one comment about the Rockets not making the playoffs, I love you guys for watching, but you're dead wrong. They'll make the playoffs. Have you seen the bottom half of the West? The Rockets are 32 and what did I say they are? 34 and 21. They're not missing the playoffs. They're going to end up with a winning record. Guess what that gets you in the Western Conference? In the playoffs. They got to figure it out. They got to figure it out quickly. I do know that. Like I mentioned, they have an extended period of time off here. We will not have another one of these shows until the 21st of February. It is a Friday night game. Next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday. That is a late one, too. It'll be 8:30 because they are on national TV that night playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. I hope that you guys take some time to take a break from sports, whatever it might be. Enjoy your time between now and then. Enjoy the All-Star break. We'll talk after it on the Locked On Rockets Postcast.